Excited about today. This is our second annual Sula Too Authors Showcase. And we have an incredible lineup today. Oh my goodness, you just have no idea what's coming up. And it's going to be absolutely fascinating. So again, I am Ersula Odom. I am the CEO of Sula Too, and we make old new in everything that we do, in that we capture and preserve legacy information in any form possible. And tonight you're going to be talking to authors. And yes, there may be an opportunity for you to engage with them. And if not, later on, it'll be on YouTube and you'll be able to see and comment again later. But today it's on Facebook, it's on Zoom. And what I want you to really think of as you go through the presentations tonight is think about, who do you know that need to hear what is being said, read the books that have been written, and who can it help? Who will enjoy it, and who actually need it? And you'll hear different stories tonight from a lot of different vantage points. And you can feel free to ask questions in the chat room. Next person up is someone that's going to tell you about how to become a superhero. Because there's one inside of you. That's what he says. And I'm talking about none other than Jason Oliver. Jason,
Good evening, Miss Odom.
good evening. Okay, so I need to stop sharing. All right, there you are.
Yeah.
Hello.
How are you doing? How's everybody doing?
Doing just wonderful. Good to see you.
Good to see you again.
We got your shield in the back,
I got my shield in the back. I sure do.
all ready to go. All right. Jason, introduce yourself to everyone and then tell us about your book.
Okay. Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Oliver. I am a married man of one wife. I have two kids, two boys. One just became a high school graduate, and earlier today, we was out college shopping. I also have a 9-year-old. He'll be 10 in a couple months. I am the owner of two dogs. I used to do a pit bull rescue, so I have two pit bulls that I couldn't give back because I fell in love with them. So father of two female, that's my girls. I always wanted a girl, so I had to live vicariously through only female pit bulls. And I live here in Jacksonville, Florida. I have a day job, which I am a governance and risk analyst. I am also an author and a mentor and coach.
And tell us about your coaching.
My coaching, well, I do personal development coaching. Right now, I am focused in the detention centers for at-risk boys. I actually do bi-weekly coaching and mentoring of boys who are age 14 through 17, who are unfortunately caught up in the system. So myself and a couple other men, we go in and teach them principles for success. And we also teach them principles that every man needs to know.
Oh, you're going to want to hear about something that's coming up too. And
Okay.
maybe there's an opportunity for collaboration here because
Sounds good.
you're
Sounds
working
good.
with a population that needs you. So
Yes.
tell us
Yes.
about the book.
So the book is called How to Build a Superhero. And I've realized that I've always did coaching, personal coaching, but I did it at like a friendship level, just some of the experience that I had. So I think I was watching, I still cannot remember. I know we had this conversation before, but I cannot remember the movie I was watching, but I was watching a superhero movie. And it just popped in my head that said that, you know what, for everybody to become the best person that they would like to be, it takes some qualities and some attributes. And those qualities and attributes I've seen in almost every single superhero. So the book, How to Build a Superhero, is really a basic, and it's a invite into starting to create your best self in whatever field it is. It doesn't just, a lot of people talk about owning a business, but it really is geared towards you becoming your best self.
So I just thought about something.
Yes, ma'am.
We've never met.
We have not met.
I feel like I know you though.
We talk often enough, I
Didn't
guess.
we though?
Yes.
So that speaks to the fact that this can be done even remotely. Um,
Yes.
and I love what you wrote, and it will be an inspiration to all levels. So
Yes.
what's your superhero self?
My superhero self starts off with the life I want to build. So right now, my bank account is not really reflecting what my dream is. However, my superhero self involves fulfillment. And what I like to do, the thing that gets me really fulfilled is helping other people, coaching other people, and allowing them, giving them steps and tools that they can implement in their own life to become a better self, to become their better self. And I see that all the time at the detention center. So the boys there, they usually get about a 3 to 6 month initial sentence. However, their behavior inside determines if it will go on longer. So we had a 14-year-old who was in there, and he was in there for 2 years. He originally had a 6 month sentence and was in there for 2 years. And unfortunately, he did not take to the program that we was presenting. So unfortunately, within a month, he was right back in.
Hmm.
But I also have plenty of success stories where I've seen a kid change his life, and now he's trying to become, at age 17, he's trying to become the world's best chef. So
Oh,
those are the things I thrive on. I know I'm not going to call it failures, because it's really their responsibility to take the knowledge and the wisdom and start to implement it. However, my fulfillment, my superhero life is fulfilling. The fulfillment that I get is being able to help others to bring out their best self.
and so how long had you been working on your book, and what inspired you to move?
Well, I've always been a writer. I've written countless things, but really it started with my wife. So I used to always write devotionals, and I would see a practical way of taking the Bible, and I would write devotionals after devotionals. And I got a lot of praise for it. And it started there with me developing that first book, which I have the book. I've never published it, never did anything. So it's just sitting in my computer, actually. But this one came about from, again, coaching. And I was watching a superhero movie, and it just popped in my head. It just came to me and said, why don't you write about how you can become a superhero? Because at that time, there was I want to say that was probably 2017, 2018, where there was just a lot of anger and hate and pointing a finger and a lot of race. I mean, just a whole lot of stuff just boiled up at the same time. So, and I just saw friends and family getting caught up in being pulled from one side to the other, whether it was politically, whether it was about race, or whatever it was about. That's where I started to see a divide. So I'm like, well, if we can just see each other out of love instead, and communicate, we can find a common ground to walk side by side. And that's what a lot of the world needs. So as I was watching that movie, I was like, you know what? Everybody has the capability to become a superhero in their own right. And I had to take a look at the attributes that the basic attributes that everybody needs at first to be able to stop. There's a whole lot more, but that's for part two of my book.
Well, at least there's a part two. I'm happy
There's a
about
part
that.
two.
Now, the devotionals that you talked about, you know
Yeah.
what I told Rosetta? Send it
What
to
was
me.
that? Send it to you. Yes, ma'am.
Because actually, when I mentioned that I was going to do something on the 27th, I'm having a kicks a weekend Kickstarter. No, weekend book Kickstarter, meaning that
Hmm.
I'm going to give out some ideas where people can work over the weekend and almost have a book written. And that, which you
Yeah.
just mentioned, falls into that category to give away the secret. But
Falls
nevertheless,
right. And what
what will it take you to pull that out of
that'll be
your
yes, that'll
computer?
be wonderful.
And somebody will benefit from it.
Um,
Like for like Felicia said, if one person benefits.
right.
Now, we're not going to do a book for one person, but that's how valuable it is. If you save
Right.
one
It's
person's
fulfilling.
life,
It's
as far as the
fulfilling.
universe is
Absolutely.
concerned, in my opinion, you would be blessed.
Mhm. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is a win. So what it will take what's going to be in part two of my book is discipline. It'll
Yeah.
take discipline.
Yeah. All right. So, what other kinds of things that you would like to share? Give us an example of one of the things that's in the book that is inspirational or helpful.
One of the things that's in the book that's helpful or inspirational. Well, can I pick one? Well, I would say this because my book does a lot of referencing to superhero movies, especially the latest Marvel and DC that has been coming out. And I have to say, probably one of the biggest things that can really help somebody is the attribute of faith. A lot of people use the word faith and belief interchangeably, and they mean two totally different things. So where belief is the attribute of believing something that is true, faith is trust. So where we live at today, a lot of people don't trust themselves. There's a lot of mistrust going on. They don't trust politics. They don't trust the politicians. They don't trust media. They don't trust them, family members. They don't even trust their own selves. So in order to become a superhero, become your best self, it takes a level of faith that has to be grown and needs to be developed so that you can move forward. So my book, I believe, how to become a superhero, it really does apply to if you want to become the best mother or the best father, if you want to become a better brother, if you want to become a better employee, or if there's something greater, if you have a greater vision for yourself, it can be applied to that as well. But the book talks about these 5, 6 key steps to get started to become your superhero self. So I would say the attributes of the attribute of faith, trusting yourself, trusting that all that you have right now is all that you need right now in order to just get started. And everything else can be learned along the way.
And speaking of learning along the way, one of the things that I absolutely loved about your book, and I won't give the secret away,
Mhm.
is that you described, or defined, I should say, defined what makes up a superhero. And
Yes.
and who thinks about that? But when you laid it out, it's like, oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
Yep.
can
Thank you.
relate to that.
Yes, yes, and that's the thing, and that's the part that really has me. I feel like it's going to separate me from a lot of other quote unquote. I don't like to use the word motivational, but motivational speakers and teachers that they don't really have you define what success looks like, depending on where you want to go into, and they really don't have you. They use so much jargon and so many big words, SAT words, as I like to call them. But what's the
Oh,
practical use of it?
yeah.
What's the practical use of understanding what it is that you're being taught or
And you
what
lay
you're
it
being told.
and you lay it out
Mhm.
very succinctly. I love that. And give some visualizations too that will stick with you. That
Yes,
I like.
yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say where it came from, but no, like you said, that's the secret. That's the secret
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
of where it
That's the
came from.
secret.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
what was little Jason like?
My son,
No.
my oldest,
Oh, now I know your son's name's Jason. So you got
yes,
a senior and a junior, but I'm talking about little you.
little me. Little me was mischievous. Mischievous. You let my brother and sister tell it, and they'll tell you that I never got in trouble. I have always, I've always been older, or it seemed like I've been older than what my actual age was. So I can tell you, at the age of 15 or 16, running with the wrong crowds, I was able to get in clubs because I had facial hair at an early age. But I was always watching the older people. Just even some of the things that I did in my life, it was always centered around people who were way older. And one of my biggest influences was my grandfather, and watching him. He was a military man. He had a lot of military friends, and they would come over to the house and play cards and drink, and I would just sit and watch them get wisdom. So I use that to my advantage to be able to do things that I shouldn't have done and wasn't supposed to be doing, but I learned how to get away with it. So it's so funny because I tell my wife and I talk about it all the time. If I was to write a memoir book and say some of the things that I've been involved with, it would either shock everybody or nobody would believe it, because I've been able to get away with it. And I wasn't really always getting in trouble. So some of the things I was able to do, I mean, doesn't mean I got unscathed, because I do have wounds, I should say, on my body to prove that I did not get fully away with. But I mean, thank God I do not have a criminal record. I don't have any record at all, except for maybe speeding, multiple tickets behind that. But I was always a real mischievous kid. I always watched. I paid attention to what my surroundings were, and I was always a person who thought things through. So the phrase analysis by paralysis, paralysis by analysis, that's me. I'm still like that today, where I have to think everything through if I'm going to make a decision to do something. So I'm learning to back off of that over the last few years. Actually, since writing this book, I'm learning to better back up off of, let me think about it for a second. No, there's some things that actually need you to take action and answer right now. So that was me as a kid. Today, I'm pretty much the same person with a whole lot more wisdom and a whole lot more knowledge, and I feel that it needs to get out there.
So what's funny about that whole scenario, one, it proves that at least you know the different parts of people and what makes up the good and the bad, and you can, you know, that explains why you were able to lay it out so succinctly in your book.
Mhm.
But it also reminds me of a show that I do called Wisdom and Young Legend. And
Yes,
the
yes,
premise of it is that, okay, that the young man has the strength, or the young person has the strength and the energy and the drive to get something done. But the old man knows the way.
right.
So you probably learned a lot of tricks with wisdom, but was fast enough to get away.
Absolutely, that's a good way. Definitely a good way to put it. Definitely a good
But
way to put it.
now you can be the wisdom for young people to help them avoid going through some of the things so that they don't get the scars you got because they're not doing some of the things you did.
Right. And that's the thing I try to tell people is, if somebody put something, I heard from Dave Martin. Dave Martin said this to me a long time ago. He said, if somebody puts something in the book, why not read it? Because it gives a shortcut from, if you're doing the same thing that they're doing, it gives a shortcut to a destination that you possibly can avoid all the pit stops, all the falls, all the road bumps. You'll be able to avoid it. And that's what I teach to kids, is the fact that you guys are all here. You guys have all did something bad. And I asked them, how many have held a gun? Everybody knows how to shoot a gun, but does everybody know when it needs to be pulled out? That's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. It's like you've held a gun, you're in here in trouble because you had a gun on you. But when is the right time to use it? And we see in the news now, there's a whole lot of law enforcement who are using their gun not at the appropriate time. So that's what I try to teach them, about the difference between knowledge and wisdom, when to use it. You may know how to, but when's the best time for you to use it? When do you have to go for it?
That okay, so I tend to give too much information, but
No,
I
you're fine.
took a gun
Mhm.
education class, and the one thing they said was you don't pull it unless you need to use it.
Right, right.
It's not a toy.
It is not a toy. It is not. Absolutely.
And it's like this country. Whew, I don't
Yes,
even want to talk
yes,
about that, but
yes.
it's like damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Right, right, right.
It's
Another thing they
amazing.
teach you in that class is the fact that if somebody breaks into your house, the minute they turn around, and if they see that you have a gun, the minute that they turn around, they're no longer considered dangerous, so you cannot pull the trigger.
Oh.
You cannot pull the trigger. I have my concealed weapons license, and that's one of the things they stress is if somebody breaks into your house and you brandish a gun on them, the second they turn around, you cannot shoot, and you will be charged. Again, difference between knowledge and wisdom. When to pull the trigger.
Whew. Okay, so superhero things. That's the weapon
Yes.
part.
Yes. Yes. So yes, one of the chapters in the book talks about the weapon. And the weapon, as I describe it in the book, is talks about the gifts and the talents and your abilities. Those are the things that you have to really do a self-assessment on what is it that you're really good at? What is it that you're really great at? Because a lot of things we don't realize about ourselves is that we're really good and we're really great at things, but we don't think of those things as something that can be that can apply towards us becoming a great superhero. We don't think about those things as becoming a moneymaker or a stream of income for ourselves. So those are the talents and the gifts and the abilities that we have that need to be developed. There's been, I'm sure, a lot of people on this call, a lot of people have been told, no, you're really good at that. Maybe you should become, you're like, oh, nah, I don't think, nah, I would never. But really, when you sit down and look at it, yes, there is a market, there is a niche for you to become your best self.
All right. And you have developed something that represents your best self. So thank you
Yes.
very much for that and
Thank you,
your
man.
trust in me to get it out there.
Yes, ma'am.
All
Part
right.
two is
So
coming.
all right. So everyone, this is Jason Oliver and his book is hold it up because
How
it'll
to
take
build a superhero.
there you go. That's it. And you can purchase that book from sulatu.com/publishing and click on buy the book. You know, click around, you'll find how to actually buy the book. All right.
Yes.
And the link that I gave that goes directly to the site for making purchases. Now, again, who needs to hear this? Who needs to read it? Think about people like that. That's what your job is today is who can be helped, including the author. Support the author too. It's a win-win.